Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 011, Arithmetic, Section 1.7, Problem 23. This is Section 1.7, Problem 23. It asks 245,198 divided by 64. Or it could be read, 64 goes into 245,198 how many times? Well, this you're certainly not going to do in your head. So first, 64 into 24 is not going to go. The 24 is not big enough. So you have to ask yourself, 64 will go into 245 how many times? So to make an estimate, you can just focus on the first digits, like 6 into 24 would go 4. Now if I put in the 4 and start multiplying, I'll see that it goes a little too big. So 3 is really the way to go. And again, you can use some trial and error like that. Like if you try the 4 and you see that it's too big, just try the next one down. So now I'll multiply 3 times 64. So to do that, 3 times 4 is 12. So I put the 2 from the 12 under the third digit over the 5. And then the 1 from the 12 gets carried to the top of the next digit over. And then I multiply 3 times 6. That will be 18. And then 18 plus the 1 more that I carried is 19. Then I have to subtract 245 minus 192. So 5 minus 2 is 3. 4 minus 9, the 9 is too big to be subtracted from the 4, so I'll have to borrow. So I go 1 column of digits to the left, cross off the upper digit, which is a 2, reduce it to a 1, and that 4 can then be turned into a 14. So now I look at 14 minus 9, which is 5, and then the last column to the left is 1 minus 1, which is 0, which I don't need to write. So the result of the subtraction, 245 minus 192, is 53, which is smaller than 64. That's good. If it were bigger than 64, then I'd have to try another digit on the top. So the 53 is good. So what I will do is now I went up to the 5. I'm going to go 1 digit to the right and bring it down, which is a 1. So I had 53 before. I write a 1 next to it. It becomes 531. And now I want to ask myself, how many times will 64 go into 531? So again, to get an estimate, you can just focus on the 6 and the 53. So 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 9 is 54. It'd be too big. So 8 is a good one to try. And again, if you miss it, you can just try the next digit bigger or smaller. But 8 seems like it should work well. So now we want to multiply 8 times 64. So start with 8 times 4 is 32. Put the 2 from the 32 underneath the 1 that we had. And then the 3 from the 32 I'll carry to the top of the next digit. I had a 1 from the previous multiplication. I'll just cross it off, replace it with the 3 from my 32. Now I will multiply 8 times 6. 8 times 6 is 48, plus the 3 that I carried. So 48 plus 3 more is 51. So now the subtraction I have is 531 minus 512. So now I want to start subtracting. In the far right column I have 1 minus 2. The 2 is too big to subtract from the 1. So the next digit over is a 3. I will cross it off, reduce it to a 2. And that 1 that I have can be changed from a 1 to an 11 when I put a 1 in front. Now I have 11 minus 2. That's 9. The 3 minus 1 was changed to a 2 minus 1. So 2 minus 1 is 1. And the far left column, 5 minus 5, which is 0. I don't have to write the 0. So the result of 531 minus 512 is 19. And 19 is good. It's smaller than the 64. So now I can go over 1 more digit to the right, which puts me at the 9, and I can bring that 9 down next to the 19 that I got when I subtracted. So 19 with the next 9 next to it becomes 199. And now I ask myself, 64 goes into 199 how many times? Well, again, that's fairly big, so just subtract on focus on the leading left digits. So really think about 6 is going to go into 19 how many times? 3. 3 times 6 is 18, which gets me as close as I can. So 3 is a good one to try. So now do 3 times 64 and see what you get. So to do 3 times 64, well, I did 3 times 64 a minute ago. I got 192. So I'm going to get 192 again. I mean, you can do it. 3 times 4 is 12. Write the 2 from the 12 into the 9. And then carry the 1 from the 12 to the top of the next column over. And I'll have 3 times 6 is 18, plus the 1 more that I carried. 18 plus 1 more is 19. Sure enough, I got 192 again, just like I thought I would. And now, subtract 199 minus 192 is 7. And now there's one more digit to the right, which is an 8. I can bring down that 8 next to the 7 I got from the subtraction, and I have 78. So now 64 will fit into 78 how many times? Only once. So I put a 1. 1 times 64 is 64. That's easy enough. And then I will subtract 78 minus 64. Well, 8 minus 4 is 4. 7 minus 6 is 1. And there is no next digit over to the right. So we've gotten to the end. So what we have is 3,831 with a remainder of 14. And for remainder, I just put a big capital R.